There are streets that hold secrets, not in a dramatic way, not in the way of crime novels or late-night documentaries, in the quiet way, the way a street holds the memory of every ordinary Tuesday morning that passed without incident, and the one that didn't. My name is Paul. I grew up on Heron Lane in a small town in rural Oregon. 12 houses, one dead end, the kind of street where everyone knew everyone's car, everyone's dog, everyone's routine. I was 16 years old in the summer of 1993. That was the summer Margaret Hale disappeared, and the summer I learned that the people closest to us are sometimes the ones we understand the least. Margaret Hale lived at number 7. We lived at number 9. She was 34 years old that summer, dark-haired, quiet, kept to herself in the polite, unremarkable way that some people do, present enough to be a neighbor, private enough to remain a mystery. She had moved to Heron Lane in 1989 alone. No husband, no children. She worked at the county records office. She drove a gray Honda Civic. She kept a small herb garden by her front door. I'd spoken to her perhaps 20 times in 4 years. Pleasantries, weather, the occasional wave from the driveway. She seemed fine. She always seemed fine. On the morning of July 14, 1993, Margaret Hale did not go to work. Her car was in the driveway. Her front door was unlocked. Her coffee cup was on the kitchen counter, half full, still warm when the police arrived. She was simply gone. No note, no luggage missing, no signs of struggle, no witnesses, just a half-full cup of coffee and an herb garden that no one would water again. The police came to every house on Heron Lane. I remember the officer who knocked on our door. Young, apologetic, a notepad in his hand. Had we seen anything unusual? Had Margaret mentioned any plans? Had she seemed distressed recently? My mother said no to all 3. So did every other neighbor, apparently. The search lasted 3 weeks. They drained the pond at the edge of town. They searched the woodland trails. They put her photograph in the local paper 3 weeks running. Nothing. No body, no evidence, no explanation. By September, the case was quietly shelved. Margaret Hale became one of those names that surfaces occasionally at neighborhood gatherings. Whatever happened to the woman at number 7? Nobody knew, or so we believed. I left Heron Lane at 18 for college, built a life elsewhere, married, had children, returned to my childhood home in 2019 to care for my aging mother. Heron Lane looked exactly the same. 12 houses, one dead end. Number 7, still standing. Different occupants now. 3 times over, probably. The herb garden, long gone. I had been back for 4 months when Dorothy Marsh knocked on my door. Dorothy Marsh had lived at number 11 for as long as I could remember. She was 81 years old now. Small, white-haired, sharp-eyed in the way that very old women who have seen a great deal tend to be sharp-eyed. She had a casserole dish in her hands. A welcome-back gesture, she said. I invited her in. We sat in my mother's kitchen. We talked about the street, about who had moved away, who had stayed, who had died. And then Dorothy set down her tea, looked at me very directly, and said, "I've been waiting for someone from this street to come back, someone who was here in 1993. I'm 81 years old, Paul. I don't have the luxury of waiting much longer." I looked at her. She looked at me. And the street outside went very quiet. "I know what happened to Margaret," she said. "I've known since the morning she left." Dorothy had been awake early that morning. 5 a.m., couldn't sleep, standing at her kitchen window with a cup of tea, as she had done every morning for 40 years. She had seen Margaret come out of number 7 at 5:17 a.m., not running, not frightened, moving with purpose, a single bag over her shoulder, the kind of bag you pack when you know exactly what you need and nothing more. A car had been waiting at the end of the lane, engine running, lights off. Margaret had walked to it without looking back, got in. The car had pulled away slowly, the way you drive when you don't want anyone to hear you leave. Dorothy had watched the taillights disappear around the corner, and then she had gone back to her tea. I stared at her. "Why?" I said. "Why didn't you tell the police?" Dorothy was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because I had seen the bruises, Paul. Every summer for 3 years, long sleeves in July, sunglasses when there was no sun. I knew what that meant. I knew what kind of life she was leaving, and I knew that if I told the police, if I told anyone, there was a chance the wrong person would find out where she'd gone before she was safe enough for it not to matter. So I said nothing, and I have never once regretted it." The kitchen was completely silent. Outside, the rain had started. I thought about Margaret Hale, about the half-full coffee cup, about the herb garden she had left behind, about a woman who had planned her own disappearance so carefully, so quietly, that an entire town had spent 30 years wondering what had happened to her, while she was somewhere else entirely. Living. I asked Dorothy if she knew where Margaret had gone. She shook her head. No. And I never tried to find out. That wasn't mine to know. She left because she needed to disappear. The kindest thing I could do was let her stay disappeared. I thought about that for a long time. After Dorothy left, I sat in my mother's kitchen until the rain stopped, thinking about the nature of silence, about how we assume, always, that silence means absence, that if someone isn't speaking, they don't know. But Dorothy Marsh had known for 30 years, had carried it through every neighborhood gathering, every whatever happened to Margaret conversation, every casual mention of the unsolved disappearance on Heron Lane. She had sat with that knowledge, quietly, privately, completely, and decided that some secrets are not betrayals. Some secrets are shields. I searched for Margaret Hale online that evening. Not to find her, just to know. There was nothing, which I realized was exactly as it should be. A woman who had disappeared that carefully in 1993, long before the internet made disappearing nearly impossible, had been given a gift that almost no one gets anymore. A clean start, a life with no digital trail, no searchable history, no way for the wrong person to follow. I hope she used it well. I hope wherever she went, whatever name she chose, whatever life she built, she planted another herb garden, something small, something hers, something that meant, I am still here. I survived. I chose this. Dorothy Marsh died 8 months after she knocked on my door. Peacefully, in her sleep, the way she had lived, quietly, without fuss, having done exactly what she believed was right. I spoke at her small funeral. I did not mention Margaret. Some things belong only to the people who were there. But I thought about her, standing at Dorothy's kitchen window at 5 a.m., watching taillights disappear around a corner, choosing silence, choosing, in her own quiet way, to be the one person on Heron Lane who understood that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is simply let them go. If something in this stayed with you, leave it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you are carrying something you have never told anyone, you are in the right place. I'll see you in the next one.